In this video, we are going to install WebStorm, create our first project, deploy it to the Bootcamp server, and push it up to GitHub. First thing we need to do is install WebStorm. In the last video, you probably installed PHP Storm. We're now switching over to WebStorm for our JavaScript stack. Let's navigate to JetBrains.com/student. You may have set up a JetBrains account in the last video. If you have, then you don't have to register as a student. You can just log in. But if you haven't set up a JetBrains account, go to that domain and click Apply Now. The domain was JetBrains.com/student. When you click Apply Now, there'll be a form for you to fill out. Very important that you use the CNM email address that you have here. That will give you a year of JetBrains services for free. I already have a JetBrains account, so I'm just going to navigate to the download for WebStorm. Once you've logged in or created an account on JetBrains, you can download WebStorm on this website. And this will take a moment. Now that it's downloaded, I'll go ahead and install WebStorm from the link below. Yes, I'll allow WebStorm to make changes to my computer. Click Next. And I'll go ahead and install it in the default location. Here, we probably all have 64-bit computers, and we're going to select to associate JavaScript files, CSS, HTML, and JSON files. We're also going to add launchers for the directory to the path. We're going to install this in the Start menu, and this will take a moment. Okay, now that the installation's done, we need to restart the computer to be able to use WebStorm. So I'm going to pause the recording and we'll pick it back up after I restart my computer. Okay, we're back from restarting our computer, and we're going to authorize our SSH key. Windows users will need to do this, Mac users will not. Putty agent opens up and asks us for our passphrase at this point. So we'll put in our passphrase. And now we need to go to github.com. So open up your web browser, go to GitHub, log into your account on GitHub. And once you're logged in, you'll see a green button for making a new repository, depending on which view you're on. It should be on most of the pages. Click that. And we're going to name this repository pre-tac work tac phase tac 1. So in the bootcamp, we call tacs, or call dashes tacs. We're going to name it pre-work phase 1. And this is going to be, put a description in here, phase 1 of our pre-work. We're going to make it public so we can share and collaborate using this. We're going to initialize this with a README, and we're going to add a license. We're going to use the Apache license 2, and you'll learn more about the Apache license in the bootcamp. And then click Create Repository. Now, the next thing we're going to do is make a file. So we're going to create a new file. Usually don't do this on GitHub, but for this type of file, I always will make this file on GitHub first. This is called a .gitignore. .gitignore. So there's got to be that dot in front of it. This is a file that contains a list of files you want Git, our version control software, to ignore and not send up to GitHub to be shared with the world. So you might put files that contain passwords in here or keys. You might add files in here that are configuration files. We're going to add 2 files right now. The first one's going to be /.idea. This file is a JetBrains file that has the configuration for our particular version of WebStorm that we're using. And when if we share this and someone else on our team pulls it down, it can mess with their configurations, the themes, and some passwords and settings in your JetBrains files. The next one we're going to do is a .ds underbar capital S TORE. That's dot capital D capital S underbar capital S TORE. And this is a Mac file that has configurations in it that can get a little annoying if you share it around and other people have their configurations changed by downloading your project. So then we're going to scroll down. We're going to add a comment in here. This is a commit comment. We're going to say created gitignore. And click commit new file. Now we'll add our file, and now we want to clone this file down. So there's a green button over here. We're going to click on that, and it's going to drop down in the box, and you may see clone with SSH, or it may say clone with HTTPS. You want to switch it and use clone with SSH. We don't clone with HTTPS. So clone with SSH. And then we're going to click this button to copy this link, and then we'll go to our desktop. Now, in the last video, we made a Bootcamp directory on our desktop. We're going to go ahead and open that up. You'll have your SSH key in here. We're going to make a new directory in here, in this Bootcamp directory. Go to new, folder. We're going to call it Git. That's where we're going to put all of our projects in the Bootcamp. It will let us know that the projects in there are being tracked by Git because we named it Git. And also, if everyone puts it in the same place, it makes it easier for us instructors to help out. All right, next we need to open WebStorm. Once WebStorm opens up, there's a link here, get from version control. We're going to click that. And we want to make sure it says Git, not GitHub or something else, Git here. So our version control is Git. And then we're going to click here where the URL is. Do Control V to paste. And we want to make sure that down here, it's putting it into your username, desktop, Bootcamp, Git, and into a directory called pre, tac work, tac phase, tac 1, and click clone. This is going to clone our project down from GitHub. Once WebStorm opens up, we can see if we expand this directory structure over here, we can see the .gitignore file that we made, the license and README. If we pop back over to our browser, we can see that those are the files that we had in our project, the .gitignore we created, the license, and the README. And we can see the contents of the README down here below with the title of the project and the description that we added. Okay, in WebStorm, we need to make a new file. We're going to right-click on the root of our project, which is this project name here. And we're going to do new file. And we're going to make an index .html. Now there were HTML files available to use as templates. I like to use just a blank file. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make a deployment here. We're going to go to Tools, Deployment, Configuration, and we're going to click the plus sign. And we're going to do SFTP, not FTP or FTPS, SFTP. And let's call the server name Bootcamp coders.cnm.edu. Under SSH, we're going to make a new SSH configuration. The host is going to be Bootcamp coders.cnm.edu, and the username is going to be your CNM username. It's going to be port 22, which is the default. We're going to change this authentication type to OpenSSH config and authentication agent, and test the connection. Mine failed because I didn't type in 22 there for the default. Great, it worked. If this fails, you either have the wrong username here, or your SSH key configuration that you did in the prior video has something wrong with it. So you have to go back and redo that video or parts of it. All right, so that worked. I'm going to click apply and OK. And then we need to set up a path for this. Now, we're going to deploy this to the server. And this path needs to be, well, we can do auto detect. And this will get us some of our path. So notice how it gives us home and our username on the Bootcamp server, but we don't want to blindly follow this. We can use auto detect to help us complete some of it. So now we need to do slash after that, public underbar HTML slash pre-tac work tac phase tac 1. Now this is the location on the Bootcamp server where you're going to deploy your project. That is where the outside world can view your project in a browser. To get to it in a browser, we're going to put an address in this location. This is where, if we click the shortcut link to our project's deployment, it'll open up a browser with this address in it. So it's going to be https bootcamp.coders.cnm.edu/tilde. That's a little squiggly character underneath the escape key, and then your CNM username, and then slash, and then your project name, pre-tac work, tac phase, tac 1. We're pointing at this location, but this location doesn't exist yet. We're gonna create it in just a moment. So click over to the mapping tabs, put a slash here in deployment path, and then we should be good to go. Click OK. Now, Windows users, you need to open Putty. Mac users and Linux users, you can go ahead and open up your terminal and SSH into the Bootcamp Coder servers the way you did in the last video. I'm going to go ahead and open Putty and double click on bootcampcoders.cnm.edu. It'll open up a terminal for me. In this terminal, we need to make a new directory for our project to go to. So first I'll cd into public HTML. So I typed in cd and I just typed 2 letters, pu, the start of public underbar HTML. And if I hit tab, it auto completes it. So you should be using autocomplete anytime you can on the server. Hit enter, and that brings us into that directory, and we need to make a new directory here. To do that, we use mkdir, make directory, and then the project name, pre-tac work, tac phase, tac 1. Now we've made our new directory on our server. We have a location for our project to go to. We want to exit the server. To free up the server's resources, always exit when you're done. Don't just close. All right, now we have our index file here. This is where we're going to create the start of our project. It's going to start out with a tag declaring what this doc type is. Then we're going to have the HTML tag, say language equals English. That's very important. If this is being viewed in another country, then we need a head. And in our head, we're going to define a character set with a meta tag. Char set equals UTF-8. Now that includes all the characters in all the languages on the planet. And then we're going to do a title tag. So in our title, we're going to say this is pre-work, phase 1. And then we're going to create a body. And in the body, we're going to make H1 tag. And we're going to say work is 1. We have some more to add here. And rather than type it all out, I'm going to copy and paste some of it. You should type this all out. Git is version control software on your computer. We're going to make a p tag. I'll paste it in. Git is version control software on your computer. It's different from GitHub. They're two different things. We'll make another p tag. In this one, we're going to put we commit our code versions to Git on our computer. Make another p tag. In this p tag, we're going to put GitHub is a cloud service that works with Git to help us collaborate and share our code with others. Okay, the next line is another p tag. We push our code to github.com. We commit our code locally. We push it to GitHub. We deploy our projects to the server so that the world can view them in the browser on a computer or a tablet or a phone or anything else with a browser. In the Bootcamp, we deploy to the Bootcamp tacoders.cnm.edu server. And then our last one, I'm going to make this an H2. Deploy and push are very different. We deploy to the server so the world can view it in a browser. We push our code to GitHub so we can share and collaborate with our team. Now we have created this project. Let's get this deployed up to the server. So we can set up our configuration already. Let's go to Tools, Deployment, and we're going to click on Automatic Upload. That will automatically upload our project to the server when we make changes. First thing we want to do now is actually initiate that. If you go back to the root of your project, to where the project name is here, and we right click, go down to deployment, and upload to Bootcamp Coder Server. It's going to do that upload and send those files up. Now, if we mouse over our project in the upper right-hand corner of the editor, we can see that there's some links to browsers. I'm going to click the Chrome one. It opened up Chrome, and now we have our project that we just created deployed on the server. But we also need to get it up here to GitHub. So let's switch back over to WebStorm, and let's do that. In the upper right-hand corner of WebStorm, there's a green check mark. Go ahead and click on that green check mark, and that will open up commit and push little window here, and this is where we add a commit message. So let's see, we added index.html with explanation of push and deploy. Now, don't just click this blue button here that says commit. You want to click the arrow next to it. We're looking for commit and push. That's going to do a combination of committing our code, basically saving a version of it on our local machine, and pushing our code up to GitHub. So we're going to click on that, and it'll do both. And it's going to pop up and give us an assessment here of what's going to happen. Yes, we want to continue with this. So click push, and that will push it up to GitHub. If we switch back over to our browser to where we had our project viewable in GitHub, and we refresh that page, we'll now see that we have an index.html file, and if I click on that, I can see the code that I wrote. It's now there for the world to see and for other coders on our team to use to be able to collaborate with us. Okay, now you have successfully completed phase 1 of the pre-work. There's one more step here for you. You need to message your instructors in Slack, not email, not phone, don't text them. Use Slack. Slack is how we communicate in the bootcamp. Your message to the instructors needs to include the link to your pre-work project where it's deployed on the bootcamp server. You can grab that in the address bar in your browser. And it needs to include a link to the GitHub repository where you have pushed your code to. When you message your instructors to let them know that you've completed any work, you need to include both of those links, the deployment link and the link to the GitHub repository. The next thing you need to do is use this procedure throughout the rest of the pre-work. So in phase 2 of the pre-work, you're going to be creating some projects. You need to use this procedure to create your project on GitHub, pull it down from GitHub using WebStorm, edit your code in WebStorm, deploy it on the Bootcamp server, and push your code back up to GitHub so that it can be seen by us instructors, so that we can see it in a browser, and so we can see the code on GitHub where you push it. I encourage you to practice this procedure multiple times. Go ahead and make a few simple projects with nothing in it but an H1 tag. Deploy them and push them and make sure that they work. Practice this procedure. We're going to be doing it all the time in the bootcamp. Good luck with phase 2.